Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Thrashers Paradise. I'm Colin Sterling, and I am joined with two members of Oakland doom metal band, Cardinal Wyrm. I am joined with Nathan and... Oh, shit.
Come on. Get it right.
Parnol?
Pranjal.
Pranjal.
There's a J in there. Yeah. Pranjal.
Pranjal. Okay.
It's not a name you hear every day around here. It's all right.
You know what? After hearing that, I overcomplicated it after now hearing you pronounce it.
Yeah, yeah, just pronounced exactly as it's written. J is a J, not a, yeah.
It's not silent.
Not silent, yeah, not a H sound as it is in Spanish, which is, often people call me Pranjal around here. But that's it's Pranjal.
Pranjal, Nathan, welcome to Thrashers Paradise, and we're here to talk about your forthcoming album, your fourth album, which came out in December of last year. The date? Devotionals.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yay!
I only just messed up your name.
It's totally fine. It's December of last year sounds so long ago too. I mean, it's like it's coming up on 2 months since it came out, which is like, I think it was December 11th that it was released. Which now it feels like a long time ago looking back. Yeah. But 2 months is it's not it's making its way in the world. It's not quite it's finding its legs.
As it is for everyone, COVID time is a little different than non-COVID time. It passes differently.
Yeah, it does. Before COVID, everything just seemed to fly by, and now it's just like days just like... Man,
yeah, I mean, you say that, though. You say that, and, like, you think about 2020, and it's like, it simultaneously feels like the longest year ever, and I'm also, like, wondering what the hell happened to it. Like, where the hell did it go? So, like, I mean, so much crazy shit happened, obviously, but, like, it also, like, and day to day, like, you couldn't go out, couldn't do anything, but also, like, it's, now I look back, and I'm like, wait, it's 2021 already? That's crazy. Like, Yeah.
No, exactly. But Devotionals came out late last year. As you mentioned, it's now 2 months old. What's their overall reception been like so far for your fourth release?
Very good. That is, it's been well received. It seems like people, for some reason with this album, they've figured out that we're not a traditional doom metal band, and are listening to it a little differently than they have past albums. So that's been something of a joy, So people are...
Yeah, I've been pleasantly surprised with the reaction. I mean, like you said, it's our fourth album. The last few albums have been kind of, it's divided reactions, I guess, and the people not quite getting what we're going for, maybe, or something like that. And overall, it's just kind of like they've come out, they've done okay, and then they're kind of like they just kind of like fade away or whatever. Like and then but this one for some reason seems to have caught on, and a lot, we've gotten a lot of good reviews for it from outlets that I couldn't imagine would ever listen to our music, but like Blabbermouth or something like that. But we seem to have gotten a lot of positive reception, and people have been writing us saying that they enjoy it, leaving comments on the Bandcamp. I mean, the other thing with this album is that we put it out ourselves, so the initial reaction to it from trying to get a label to put it out was terrible because no one would put it out. So, but we believed in the record and we loved it. So we're like, I'm just going to put this out ourselves because we can stand behind this music,
Yeah.
And we put it out, and it seems to have been the right thing to do. Yeah, it's based on the reaction.
I personally believe if you're not proud of the music you're releasing yourselves, what's the point of writing it then?
Absolutely. And no question about it. Like, if you're not ready to just put it out yourself, that's the main thing is getting it out there,
Mm-hmm.
It'd be nice to make the money back at some point, but not money isn't like totally out of the question. But that's the main thing is that it gets out there. We get ears on it, that people listen to it, and people listen to it. Maybe get what's going on. Yeah.
And the album was written is written and recorded just pre-COVID, hence the recouping thing. I don't think we know anyone locally, except for right now, who have attempted to record in person. We have some friends who are actually laying down tracks in a closed club in San Francisco.
Oh wow!
And that's the first people I've heard of locally, because you get some nice social distancing, also a pretty decent drum sound apparently from the stage. So kind of everyone, it's other than kind of bedroom bands, metal bands, loud drums. A lot of folks have had their recording schedules kind of on hold. So we were lucky to be able to put everything down before everything locked down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's been people have kind of picked up on the energy of the record, and I think a lot of that is down to it was the base of the record is basically like a live recording. There's stuff added on top of it, of course, because it was done in a studio. But it's like we all played together in the studio, to lay down the initial tracks, the foundation for it. So, and we're able to get that sort of live energy sound into or feel, I guess, into the album.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's a different time now. It's I think there's been some great stuff released during COVID. Just people making the best of what they have. But yeah, man, I really hope that bands are able to get back together and play in a room together in a studio or something and record that, because I think there's an energy there which we need to get back to that.
And I think we all miss live music, playing live.
Yes.
Seeing our friends play live, being with people. It's a little different. I mean, I appreciate talking to you all on screens, but it's there's a different energy being in a room with a bunch of folks, But,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean exactly.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
Yes. Well, the next question I do have to ask, because I'm very curious about. Now, I know the Bay Area is a very huge hardcore thrash scene, so I would just like to know, as a doom metal band, is the scene open to other genres besides thrash, or do you find it a bit harder to try and fit your way into the typical metal scene in the Bay Area?
It's like, it's, well, on one hand, yes, on the other hand, no. It's like, we don't find it hard to get shows, and we end up actually, playing with pretty much all genres of bands, in the metal scene. We play we play with death metal bands and black metal bands sometimes, other doom metal bands, hardcore bands,
dark wave bands. I mean, kind of bands. Yeah.
But I think with the Bay Area, at least, the scene is very
eclectic.
Everyone kind of knows each other, or there's or at least knows of each other, and so if there's a band locally, it kind of doesn't, and they're kind of generally in the same orbit. It doesn't really matter on the genre of the band, it's just that's this band, they're from here, they know they know this person twice removed from you or something like that. You'd be like, oh yeah, totally. And people are open to have bills like that, pretty varied bills. And it's sometimes we end up on bills that are just I don't know, with three death metal bands, and we're opening. And that's kind of a weird situation always, because, people show up and it's the first band that plays, and it's wait a minute, what kind of show did I end up at, so the reaction is often kind of funny in those situations. But it's never, we don't have a problem getting shows. It's just there's not a lot of bands that sound like us around here. So there's not a lot of bills that we really fit into, it's cool to play with all kinds of bands, but it's not it's I don't know how to explain myself really, but it's it doesn't really fit that. Our band doesn't really fit with other bands on a bill that gel way. Although I can think of shows where it's been wildly different bands, and it's been awesome nights just because it's it's cool to have that kind of diversity in the genres, I think. Yeah.
But it'll be a little harder to fit in on a bill of 4 other straight death metal bands, which in the past has happened, or they're in entire festivals devoted to 30 death metal bands. Historically, the Bay Area, had more of a thrash presence. It's in terms of the metal scene, is definitely more leaning for quote unquote. I don't want to say the word extreme metal, but any of that. It's more kind of death metal these days. I don't think any of the I don't know any of the God knows which wave it would be of thrash. I don't know that it took hold in the same sense in the Bay Area again as it did, kind of nationally some years ago. So kind of death metal, more the post rock kind of neurosis kind of style bands. Some of them are around here. There's a lot of not crossover in the old school sense of hardcore and metal, but like there are the bands that kind of have aspects of both, like our friends in Deathgrave, who are the ones who are recording in the Great American Music Hall as we speak. Yeah, it's an interesting scene. I mean, I feel weird about talking about the scene because it's almost in my mind. It's just like insect trapped in chrysalis until everything opens up again.
Yeah, right.
So
and
we'll
talking about bands and shows that we haven't been to in like a year and a half or something, So it feels I'm talking to you in person like probably more than I've talked to half the people in the bands like in the Bay, this year. So yeah, but the Bay's cool with like there's some, the Bay's gotten really expensive in the last. Especially in the last 5 years, but probably in the last 10 years in general. But there's been and there are a lot of people leaving now. There's like kind of a big exodus for people leaving for various reasons. But there are a lot of venues that have kind of weathered the storm before COVID and are kind of just hanging on now. The same with a lot of bands that they were pretty active, had some momentum, and then COVID hit, and now they're kind of don't know what to do, trying their best to maybe practice here and there and but without shows or without anywhere to record. It's
it's tough.
So we'll see what state things are at once everything opens up again. That'll be interesting to see.
Like our friends in Necrot were scheduled to basically spend most of last year since about this time last year on the road, and then all of that was shut down, and they're like, oh, well then. Yeah, so everyone's kind of it's a new world for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Now, when it comes to the album, Devotionals, for each of you personally, I'd like to know, which song did you find the hardest throughout the writing process, like when it came to creating it?
That's a good question.
Personally, I don't know that I find anything hardest in the writing process in terms of creating it. There were a couple songs in this album that were, once we figured out the song, that just pulling it off. So, I mean, I like writing stuff where it's almost just out of my reach, and then there's a couple of them, at least one of them, I'm like, yeah, this is going to take a minute, and it took a minute, but it all came together.
I think for me it was the last track, which is called "Do We Have Another Battle Left in Us?" And I think that the reason that was difficult was there's different kinds of vocals throughout the whole track. That starts with a very kind of clean vocals that are much softer than I usually do, much quieter, and then it kind of goes into some shouting, and it goes into louder clean mode. So there's a big thing there, and the thing was finding a common thread to weave between those parts to make the song not sound like it was just hacked together different parts, but to have a thread running through it that also matched with the rest of the album so that you could follow onto it. I think the track ended up awesome, but it was it took a lot of kind of sitting around with it and mulling it over and trying to think of lyrical themes and vocal ideas that could bring all of that stuff together and make it cohesive in itself, but also with the rest of the album. Yeah, that was a challenging one for me.
The final guitar arrangement wasn't even written. I think I had some scratch. I think you recorded to some scratch. I mean, it was a bit of a challenge. I think you were recording to some scratch chords or something.
Probably. It sounds familiar.
On electric guitar, and it ends up on kind of a nylon string kind of part. Yeah. That's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, but I think it turned out good. I'm very happy with the way the track and the whole album turned out. You know, it's one that I'm really proud of.
It's good to have. It's very nice to end the album on. In general, we like to have some different, a variety of moods on each album.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I think that's kind of very nice, kind of sparse ending. Takes it to kind of a different place, closes it out nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Strangely, the final track is strangely apropos for the last year. So, do we have another?
Yeah, it's funny because it was recorded before COVID hit, but like you kind of like there's lyrics about it was actually written and the vocals were recorded on a day during the wildfire season. Well, we now have wildfire season in California, which is like it's an annual thing now, where like. I mean, we've always had fires and there's always been that kind of danger in the Bay Area. But the last few years, we've just had fires so bad that like the smoke has, been visible from space and kind of like, flies, kind of like drifts into the Bay Area. And like we get like warnings not to go outside. You have to check the air quality each morning, like see what kind of, if you're able to go outside or like how long you should spend out there. So like, the vocals for that song were actually recorded on a day when it was like, purple air quality, which is like just like extremely unhealthy. You shouldn't go outside. And it was just this, aside from the actual physical limitations that gives you like not being able to do stuff or go anywhere, it's just like, it's this kind of like weird crushing, like psychological thing where it's like, there's a fire like not too far away from you. The smoke, which is like choking the entire area that you're living in, that's like, it's terrifying. And it's like, and it's a really weird like mindset that you get into when you're living with that. And I mean, this goes on for like a week or two, it's like, it's pretty significant. We had it this year, 2020 as well. A morning when I woke up and the sky was literally like red, because of the light filtering through all the smoke. It's so, but it was recorded on one of those days when it was really bad out, and it was in there, and like there's a line in there about like we smell the smoke of distant fires, we know what's coming, and it's more like this fear of like what's on the horizon, and like you can sense it because it's right there and it's choking you right now at the moment, but there's something worse just around the corner too, Yeah, so it was a funny time to I was smoking cigarettes during that time too. I just recently quit the very long time cigarette smoking habit that I had. And, this ridiculous air quality, you can barely breathe. And I was still going outside and smoking cigarettes because I was such an addict. But, I've since put that behind me. And,
we've never actually talked about that aspect. But like those are pretty much the same circumstances that all the lead guitar was recorded on the album. It was just like every one of those days was in the purple, and then because some of the stuff I was actually recording it in our practice space and then bringing it in to the studio, and so I was going out there with a ridiculous gear on after like laying down leads, and there's something that it does to your mind just being in darkness, like morning and night. I don't know how people near the pole deal with that kind of thing, but it's not just the darkness, it's that ever-present smell of burning wood.
Yeah, I mean, it's like some kind of like, you read Nate and I are both like, remember the sort of nuclear fear in the 80s and stuff, it's like that whole thing they always told you about nuclear winter, happening. And it's like they were supposed to be such bad, like the debris and the smoke would like blot out the sun, and like that's literally what was happening. So I'm like, this is some kind of nuclear winter we're kind of expecting every year now. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, last year with the Crimson Sky and all that, it was I mean, it's frightening and also kind of astoundingly beautiful at the same time. And yeah. And also very
metal. Metal in general has always had a fascination for that kind of beautiful apocalyptic kind of imagery. It's like it's terrifying, and at the same time, it's like awesome in the literal sense of the word. You know, it's like it just like it fascinates you, it totally captivates your attention, and it like there's some kind of beauty in that as well. You know.
Yeah.
So I think it definitely added to the music in that sense too. Yeah.
Well, it's pretty funny you bring up imagery, because the reason that this interview even came to be about was because of the time-lapse video that was made when it came time to actually physically making the painting that became your artwork for damn it. Devotionals. Devotionals. Why is that the one thing I'm forgetting tonight? Like,
as soon as you worry about forgetting something, that's the one thing you're gonna just stick in your head.
Exactly, but no, I do have to say the artwork for the devotionals is so powerful and so beautiful, and it just turned out so nicely. And when you first received like the painting for your upcoming album, what was your initial reaction to it, and what was your thought as you were watching the entire time-lapse video in front of your eyes?
Well, you know, so the time-lapse video actually came out we only just saw it shortly before we put it out last week or 2 weeks ago. Because Kim Holm, who's the artist, is based out of Bergen, Norway. And, you know, we met Kim a few years ago when we played in Montreal, actually around your neck of the woods, kind of, like, you know, closer to you than here anyway. You know, there was a festival going on. There was kind of like some bands playing, but there was also some artists. You know, Dan Seagrave was displaying some of his stuff. Becky Clunan was there, and Kim was there too. He had traveled from Norway to show some of his artwork, and we met him. We hung out with him, and you know, we liked his stuff, and you got to know each other. And he did the artwork for our last album, which I thought was Castaway Souls, which I thought was phenomenal too. He did like a whole. You know, that one came out on vinyl, so there was a gatefold aspect to that, and the gatefold part of that, there was like a whole map in there that he drew. There was like this weird, it was totally like an alternate world kind of thing that he had going on. So like when it came to this album, I was excited to work with him again, and it's just like it was weird circumstances because like we thought we were in a real rush. For a timeline that ended up not meaning anything, but that's all like stupid bureaucratic stuff. But like, so I told Kim, I'm like, hey, can you do this? We need this like by the end of the week. You know, can you do something for this album? Here's the demos or whatever. You know, and he was like, sure, like, you know, I'll give it my best. So like that time lapse video you saw was just one day. You know, he put the demos on. And he let them run, and he just did it like in one day, like the whole thing. I think there's like a fluidity to the artwork and a way that everything comes together that like you can kind of feel that it was all done in one session. It's like feels like, you know, everything is being drawn towards this thing in the middle, and there's like, you know, figures coming down the hills, and there's these like weird monster-like creatures on the edges and stuff. But everything definitely feels like very cohesive, and it's because he just like stood there for 6 hours or 7 hours just painting this thing in one day. And then we ended up like just kind of shelving it for a year almost, you know. We're like, sorry. And yeah.
But I was surprised when I saw the video how much it actually looks like, and it was time lapse, and it actually looks a lot like his action painting. So Kim, you know, when things are open, Kim was at some of the bigger metal festivals in Europe, and he'd be by the stage banging his head and then like painting, like kind of doing these action paintings of the people on stage. And it had this way of just kind of, it's very quick and fluid and somewhat abstract, but he always manages to like capture the essence of the person or the performance. And it was odd looking at this time lapse thing and going, wow, that looks a lot like when he's just banging his head by the stage and like painting. It was fascinating to see it like sped up. I'm like, yeah. I liked actually the end when he basically flips the canvas over and then like starts.
Yeah, I think that's the part that gets everyone like, whoa, like oh, you got a cat. I got my dog's sitting over there.
Yeah, I apologize. She's a I guess my girl in a way. She's obsessed with me.
Oh, you don't have to explain that. We're all animal lovers. Like, yeah, my dog's been trying to get my attention for a little while, sitting across from me. But yeah, but so Kim was you know, he has this way of like, he does a lot of these paintings where he'll like throw a bit of paint onto a canvas, and then like he'll already have in his head looking at it like, oh, this could be this, and he ends up like drawing like a shape out of that blot, you know, and
Like
you wouldn't know it looking at what it started off as, you know, and that's kind of there's some of that went into this too. But I think that bit in the time lapse video where he flips the canvas over, really just like everyone's like, whoa, it's like and you know, when I first saw the painting, and I saw there's kind of these like bolts, kind of like lightning bolts of power, almost energy coming out of the top of this structure in the middle of the thing. And I'm like, wow, those look like, you know, they're not like jagged, but I'm like, that brushwork looks really weird and, you know, and really fluid. And it turns out it's not brushwork at all. It's just the paint running down the canvas, which is how he gets that effect. You know, it's cool stuff. As someone who's just like, like that side, like kind of visual art stuff is just not my wheelhouse at all, you know, so I'm just endlessly fascinated by people that can do that. Yeah.
He kind of like just kind of surfs on the edge of chaos. It'll just be like he's pulling something out of this. I'm like, okay, it went that way. Now it's a demon with a, you know, I mean,
yeah, which fits our music pretty well.
Yeah,
kind of like circling that, just on the edge of like being not quite in reality, you know, like one just a half step outside of this part of the multiverse. Yeah.
Yes. No, I'm actually curious about this. So when this initially came about, where some random guy from Canada wanted to interview you, what was your initial reaction just to hearing that?
Hearing that you wanted to interview us?
Yeah.
Oh, I was stoked. I mean, it's you know, it's crazy to me that someone like as far away as you are can hear the music and like, you know, and it gets a response out of you, you know. And I mean, in this case, enough of a response to like want to sit down and talk with us, like, you know, that's like, it's awesome. It's like it's like to me that's one of the best things about playing music is have that kind of like, someone hears it and they get it, you know, or they hear it and they're like, oh, they're moved by it, and like you want to do it. It's awesome. It's like you can't really put into words how that feels, you know. Yeah, and I was also just like, you know, I have questions for you too. I'm like, you know, how did you figure out how did you hear this? Like, where did you first come across it? Like, you know, did you like, it's you know, it's our own little like kind of little netherworld that we live in, you know. It's always cool when people like peek into it and they're like looking in, and I'm like, oh, hey, what's going on? And like, so they have questions, but I also am like looking up at them like, hey, what's going on, man? How'd you find this place? You know. Yeah.
I do have a question. Well, obviously I have a question. No, so I checked your Spotify and the new album doesn't happen to be on there yet. So when can us, the fans, might be expecting it on your Spotify?
Nate, do you have an answer to that?
I've been I don't have an answer to that. I've been you know, we've been going traditional black metal with it so far, deep undercover. No, at
True
some
cult.
point this year, yeah, true cult. Yeah, at some point we're gonna stop being a true cult, and probably we're gonna get the entire catalog up on all streaming media within the next month or two. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been various like legal and bureaucratic things for a couple of like, you know, just because there's the other two albums were on different labels or on a different label, and like, you know, there's something with streaming rights and, you know, all this stuff that like there's no point going into that kind of stuff. So there was like a little bit off-putting stuff about the, you know, putting stuff on the streaming media, like whether there'd be any hurdles to that. I'm also like, I use Spotify myself, but it's also like I'm always like kind of about Spotify because artists, don't get the amount of money that the artists get per like, for all the streaming that they get and all the money that they make off it, it's that's not even pennies, it's like fractions of pennies. And so I'm always a little like grudgingly, all right, and put this up like, on Spotify and stuff. But, I know that that's what most people listen to. And there's obviously a good side to it too, which is that it's really easy to use anywhere in the world. And you can find, maybe you can't find this record in your local record store, but you'll find it on Spotify, and you can listen to it. So it'll get out there. It just hasn't happened yet.
I guess I was just kind of sitting in that space. I'm like, I don't know. I like the idea of it being hard to find.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, it's been this kind of like, there's been people being like, whoa, this is so underground. Like, it's like only out on cassette. Holy shit. And like, it's part of me is kind of like, there's that not to sound like an old man, but like, the pre-internet stuff where like there was a mystery about things, Yeah. Whereas like you couldn't just go to YouTube or Spotify and find this band's stuff. Like you had to, like, you heard the name. Like I remember like when I was like, it was like for Mayhem, like, like back when in the 90s, and like you just hear stories, and they were like ludicrous stories that weren't true, but you'd build up these legends about these bands, and like you just hear the band name like Mayhem, and they're from Norway, and it's like, whoa, what the fuck is that? And it's like you're just imagining all this stuff, and your imagination just runs wild, and you come up with all this stuff, and you can't hear the music anywhere because it's impossible to find. And so the legend builds up in that mystery, So I'm kind of like, I kind of like the little aspect of not being able to find it everywhere at the moment. That being said, it is going to be up on Spotify. That's just the times have just changed. So like, it's going to be up there at some point. Yeah.
Well, with that out of the way, I got to know now. So is Mayhem still true cult because their stuff is on Spotify?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, funnily enough, I just saw it's so funny talking about all this stuff in the age of social media, because I'm like, oh, I just saw like, the Spotify, the Instagram of Mortis the other day, and he was like, like, and it's like Mortis, like, it's same era as Mayhem, and same location sort of, but and his Dungeon Synth stuff, he's back to doing that, and it's like he had video of him like doing stuff, and it's like, oh, like he's still using like not just DATs, but he's using like 3.5 inch like floppy disks still, and he has like a disk drive for them and stuff, and it's like, and he's like, got this keyboard with a built-in disk operating system, and he's like, you're like typing on this little stuff, and it's like, I mean, that's like just using like the crazy old school stuff, and I'm like, whoa, that's like true, man, that's like true. It's like bringing out the fucking like punch cards or something, like only recording with like tin pots or something in a fucking cave somewhere, but like
back cylinder.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's there's Mayhem and all that stuff, and they, I think they'll always have that legend going for them. They were I don't think anyone's going to be able to replicate that, like, unless they stay off the internet completely, which is hard to do now. Like, but I mean, those bands will always have that, like, it's in some ways like, black metal now is like, they're still living off dining out on that legend from the 90s, on like how notorious stuff was, and how just like hard to find everything was. And like people wanted to know what was going on. They were like, who are these guys killing people and burning churches and making this insane music? What does this sound like? I remember when I first found them, the very first thing I found of Mayhem was in a secondhand store, and I found the Funeral Fog single. And I was like, kind of like going, I was like, oh, this is that band I read about in, like, at that time it was like, they had that big issue of like Kerrang or one of those British like metal magazines had this like just ridiculous sensationalist article about like, they eat Bibles and they like, do all this stuff. And I was like, whoa. See, I found the Funeral Fog single, and I was like, put it on, and I was just like, like imagining these guys like, hey, come here.
I'm here.
Oh yeah, there you go. There you
So the only one that hasn't made a guest appearance is my cat, which is really unusual. So
Yeah, this is
that's why I
Norma.
keep looking over towards my door's over there. So I keep looking.
Yeah, this is Norma. She's been trying to get my attention for the last however long we've been talking. So finally, she has enough, and she's like, "I'm jumping up on your lap."
Yeah. No. No, I'm just happy, honestly, that I actually was able and I knew everything you were talking about during that conversation. I wasn't that 21-year-old going, what the hell is he talking about? What's a floppy disk?
Oh God.
Well, that's the other thing with the internet. It's like, everyone everyone knows all this stuff now. It's it's cool in a way too, because it's you don't have to read a history book or whatever. But like you could it's also like there's something about me that still craves that mystery element of things. Of like wanting to seek something out. If like you heard about something and you can't find it on the internet, so you need to go seek it out somewhere, and you need to. It's like almost this like epic kind of like thing of like going on a journey to find something. It's like there's part of me that misses that. But then again, like it's also fucking awesome to be able to just look on Spotify and find the Iron Butterfly live EP. That was whatever I was listening to the other day.
I don't know. Mortiz is much more cult than I am. Going back to 3.5 floppies. I had heard at one point that one of NASA's biggest problems was that, they have so much data, but it's on all of these different formats. There are basically analog and digital formats that go back over 50 years, and some of them they don't even have anything. They don't have any of the devices to retrieve the data on because none of it exists anymore. And I was kind of looking at, because Pranjal sent me Mortiz's link, and I'm just like, wow, Mortiz and NASA are kind of in the same place. Maybe he should be doing some consulting. I don't know.
Well, there is the cover of the Stargate. He is flying in space, so maybe you've just uncovered. You've blown the lid off this whole thing, Nate.
Too funny. Too funny. Now, I'm sure a lot of fans have been asking. Now, I understand true cult is a very important thing to keep true in today's society. But
sorry, we don't actually get that serious to keep it cult, but I'm just.
But I bet a lot of fans are asking you, hey, when can we expect CDs or merchandise of the new album to come out soon? So I'm curious to when potentially we might see that. Ow, cat, don't hurt me. Damn claws.
It's funny. Like, we're hoping that since there's been like a positive reception, that there will be a label that's interested in putting out vinyl. Like that's my. I'd really love for this to come out on record. I think the sound that on the tape is like. I really like the way that the tape sounds. I think there's an edge to the tape that like kind of is like it adds to the music a little bit. And I think vinyl will do that too. I'd love for someone to do that, but maybe there's some labels paying attention that like have seen some of the reviews and maybe they'll be interested in putting it out. We're putting we put feelers out all the time. It's just we don't really hear back from anyone. CDs are more they're more doable, I think, for a band with our limited means, but at the same time,
I don't know how well they do in the U.S. CDs. I know for a while Europeans had a weird thing with, especially Germans and Scandinavians, and with CDs. I don't know why. Over other
they
formats,
hated it or they liked it.
No, they were. It was a thing for a bit, but maybe they're done with that.
Mm-hmm.
Just as there was a tape craze, essentially, there's a cassette craze in the U.S. It's maybe that retro hasn't hit here yet, so they're ahead of us a few years. Yeah, I did want to do 8-track for this album. For a couple, yeah. I mean, it was like I wanted to get Kim's art a little larger, but
yeah.
Yeah, I think actually when it goes, if and when it goes to an LP, it'll be very nice to feature his art on a larger format.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff is now like with the thing is like with the initial negativity that we had and like the just like completely no one wanted to put this out. We were all really kind of disheartened for a while, and but believed in it, and we put it out, and it's gotten a good response. So this has kind of been a shot in the arm for us too, and like thinking that we're not like totally crazy, that like this is something we can stand behind, and like we should like just fuck it, we're gonna go ahead. So like with that shot in the arm, if there's labels that want to put it out, that would be awesome. But like knowing that people are the album is resonating with people, that people are getting it. It might be we can put the vinyl out ourselves maybe even at some point. I know there's like there's ways of doing that where like you can do limited runs or whatever that aren't like totally cost prohibitive like for a band like us. So knowing that people will actually respond to that, it's possible that it will come out in I'd like it to come out this year. We'll see.
Some of it for us may be, I don't know, just in terms of thinking a little differently. I think for most of us in bands, you're usually thinking about merch is often very tied in with a live show, so it's kind of hard to. It's almost hard to think about like not touring and basically the merch is usually you're creating new merch with the when you're out and about. But yeah, we might do some things.
Yeah, it would be cool to do T-shirts with that artwork. I think that would be, something to think about. It's like with the, just selling stuff off a Bandcamp store. It's like it's a little much, I think, to print merch and like go all out with this stuff. In an age where you can't tour. So, but it's the vinyl and the CD release, so that might come sooner rather than later. So. Sorry, I don't have a more definite answer for you. We don't really have like concrete plans at the moment with that. But
that's totally okay.
Like I said, it's been a shot in the arm to have people respond to the album. So like we're moving ahead. Going forward with things. Yeah.
I actually brought this out. This is as a 21-year-old. I recently got like a 6-in-1 vinyl player, which does vinyls, cassettes, CDs, and all that.
Whoa.
And the other day I just got my first ever cassette, and my initial reaction to it was, how the hell do I play it? Because it's like I don't know what to do. Like, thankfully I can play it on my vinyl player, but it's like, so wait, I just insert it and then it magically plays?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, that's so funny. I didn't realize you were 21. That's and like it's really funny because when tapes are kind of like a thing now at least in the Bay Area. Yeah. It's like every show you go to, there's bands that have like tapes at least as an option to buy, or if not, like they're only gonna have tapes, And it's like these kids that are kind of your age who are like they're only doing tape. I'm like, when it first started happening, I was like, "What? We can come back to cassette tapes? It's so weird."
It wasn't just full releases. There are bands that we were playing with that are going back to releasing tape demos. I'm like, "You're doing tape demos again?
Yeah.
What?
Wow.
Like 4-song demos.
That hasn't hit Canada yet. That hasn't hit Canada yet.
It's like, I'm like, damn, you're going back and looking this shit up. Damn. Okay.
It's funny. I mean, there's a retro element to it, which I think is it's funny. It just shows like how old I am, I guess. But like, it also like just, it's it's a cool format. It's cool and like I think it's kind of awesome. And then like, it's a part of that underground culture. It like you seize on something like cassette tapes and you bring it back and you make it yours. And it's like now this is like part of the underground metal scene, is like, we do tapes, motherfucker. Like, no one else does tapes. We do tapes.
I think
like,
that's also the
our
desire.
thing. And it's like it's cool. It makes it it's all part of like defining that underground culture and that family. Like you see someone with tapes in their house, you'd be like, hey, yeah, man, like you're down with this stuff still.
I think there's also something to having a physical object. I mean, there's the convenience and portability of streaming media, but sometimes folks want to. It's like, you're kind of having a connection with whoever your favorite band is or the folks you like through this physical object. It's just kind of a different experience and a way of communing with the music. So I have to ask you, do you have a pencil?
Do I have a
The
pencil?
is a very important accessory to your tape collection if you build one. And
Really?
Pranjal might not even know. Like there's the difficulty with tape. Sometimes the tape gets loose from the container. You need the pencil to wind it back up.
Really?
Yeah, you stick the pencil in one of the holes and you turn it, and it like winds the tape back into the thing. Yeah.
Noted. Thankfully, I have a 9-year-old brother that's still in school, so I can just steal one of his pencils.
There you go. Yeah, sometimes your tape player will chew your tape a little bit, and it'll get pulled out of the thing at the bottom right there where it's exposed. If that happens, stick a pencil in and turn it around.
Well, less likely because you don't have a portable tape player, but back in the day, people would stick tapes anywhere without a cover on it. So people's car keys are like getting caught in the tape, and so it starts looping out. By the time they pull the car keys out, they have 10 feet of tape that they have to use their pencils. Wind it all back up. Yeah, old tech.
Wow. Fascinating.
Oh yeah, I'm glad we could share some of the knowledge. the benefits of pencils.
Yes. Wow. That's truly amazing. And I have one last question to ask you because it's almost been an hour that we've been talking.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Like that. That's cool.
It doesn't. It does not though. It doesn't even feel like that. And I think I like that. That doesn't feel like it's almost been an hour. But this is the last question we ask to all of our first time appearing guests, just to test your metal knowledge and to have a little bit of fun. Note, the Finnish guys I talked to earlier today immediately got it right before I even said the question.
Whoa, they're psychic.
I guess you could say so. The question is abstract. That is the name of the Finnish band I interviewed earlier. Abstract.
Just in time for the last question.
Just in time for the last question. Yes. I don't remember the guy's name because they have one of the members was Apple State and I think the other one was Night Deranger. Yeah, Night Deranger. And Night Deranger got it right before I even asked the question.
Whoa!
Wow.
All right. This is gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to top that.
I mean, I can't top Night Deranger as a name. I mean, I'm already behind. I can't. I bow to that.
The question is simple. Who would win in a fight, Lemmy or God?
Oh,
Lemmy or
Lemmy.
what?
Lemmy.
Lemmy or God?
Yeah.
Oh, Lemmy. Well,
Yeah,
there is no God, so Lemmy would just show up, and God hasn't even shown up for the fight, so he wins by default. Yeah.
So, did you literally ask who, and they said Lemmy? Is that how it?
No, I just asked. It went along the lines of.
So who? Lemmy. No.
It wasn't even that. It was just okay, just to test your metal knowledge, and the guy just goes Lemmy, and I go, "You're actually correct."
Well, here's the thing: who would show up to fight for God? That's a question.
It's not
Would
Lemmy.
it be Dave Mustaine these days, or Tom Aria maybe, or so it'd be Lemmy versus
I'm gonna say Dave Ellsworth.
Striper.
I would say Ron Helford or Bruce Dickinson, one of the two.
Oh, okay, you're going that route. Yeah. Oh, I mean, who would be the yeah. That's a Ron. Oh yeah, Halford would be that would be a tough one. Lemmy versus Halford. I mean, I pick Halford in a fight because he's just a big dude.
Yeah. I think it'd be like a Godzilla versus Kong situation between the two.
It's the blockbuster we're all waiting for.
It's the blockbuster the world never knew it wanted.
So, I see Halford definitely as Godzilla, and Lemmy's definitely Kong. I mean, I can't switch.
Really good analogy.
I can't switch that up. It just I'm not sure who Mothra is though. I can't.
Oh, Dickinson would be Mothra for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, is it the furry pants? It's the furry pants.
I think it's more the like in the flying like
Vaguely insectoid sounds.
live to fly.
Oh, so you're also bringing the commercial pilot thing in there. Got it.
Yes.
Yep.
It's all tying together.
He only sings When Eagles Dare and songs about flying.
Yeah, Aces High and When Eagles Dare, but not Flight of Icarus, hopefully. Yeah.
But now my question is, who does the immortal Tommy Iommi portray then?
Oh, in terms of classic monsters. Oh, it's getting some...
You know, there's a part of me that thinks Iommi is like the scientist that's on the ground, that's like seen, that's like discovered these creatures are waking up and everything, and they're doing, and he's just running around trying to make sure that humanity doesn't just like annihilate them, He's trying to make sure that they're treated the way that they're supposed to be treated. They just want to go back home, they just want to.
Yeah.
They don't want to wipe out San Francisco like in the last Godzilla movie or whatever. They just want to go back home and be left alone. And Tony Iommi's running around preaching that gospel, saying, you know what? These guys deserve to be here. God damn it!
Yeah.
I don't know. I could go either way with Iommi because they have all of that kind of very Book of John, Book of Revelations kind of final judgment stuff in their lyrics. So he could almost be like one of the bystanders, and he'll go, "I told you this was going to happen."
Yeah.
Well, I told you that was going to happen. Godzilla's just like stepping on buildings and.
Yeah.
Be the John Goodman of Kong, Skull Island.
Or like there's the guy that's just, he's like, God damn it, this again. Not this shit again.
I just rebuilt my fucking house. God damn it. My insurance premiums are going to be fucking up over the roof now. Jesus.
I saw some movie. Oh man, it was a 70s movie at some point. I can't remember the title, and I wish I could because it was terrible and it's awesome. But there's a thing where the Russians are developing. It's back in the Cold War, and it's like the Soviet Union is developing werewolves as like a weapon, to use in the Cold War or something. And but then one of the werewolves gets loose and starts attacking things, and the CIA finds out about it, and there's a CIA office, and they get this telegraph. Or this telegram or whatever it is, and the guy's looking, and he reads about this, and he looks in the camera, and he's just like, werewolves loose in the Soviet Union. Who's gonna tell him? Not me. You do it. What I mean? And in that tone where he's just like, God damn it, supernatural creatures. Fuck this. I'm out.
I'm not sure you weren't watching a documentary. I mean, crazy shit happened during the Cold War. I mean, they were dosing businessmen, and CIA is watching them have sex with prostitutes in on Nob Hill in San Francisco. Stranger shit happened.
Sure, it's just a
werewolves in the Soviet Union.
Werewolves, yeah.
It sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah.
It's the reality we want, Nate. It's the reality we want.
I kind of want it more in a Putin Russia than a Soviet Russia, to be honest with you. I mean, I can see Putin totally broing down with some werewolves. They're all bare-chested, He's walking with his tiger, I mean,
just taking shots of vodka as they go. Casual day.
Did you ever see? Speaking of werewolves, why I'm talking about this, but there's I have to bring this up every time. It's one of my favorite movies. This film called Dog Soldiers, which is about werewolves that so it's this British this
bring this up.
This little group
he does bring this up.
This troop of British soldiers who are training, in the Highlands of Scotland, or in Wales or something. I can't remember exactly where, but they're out in a training mission, and they end up having to fight werewolves because they just go to a part of the country where there's werewolves in the Highlands, and they're and it's fucking awesome. It's the British soldiers are all basically football, soccer hooligan style, like, you know, like, he's like, there's werewolves on your fucking six, mate. Like, it's awesome. It's like, you gotta check that out. Just my little plug for Neil Marshall's best movie, Dog Soldiers.
And we kind of see those kind of guys as our fan base, you know. Just...
if only. Yeah, how do we reach those people?
I mean, the werewolves in the Highlands.
Well, yeah.
You need to add bagpipes.
Yeah, just gotta play those bagpipes.
Yeah. Play Bark at the Moon with the bagpipes. Boom.
Yeah, there you go. Or on the bagpipes. Danny Boy into Bark at the Moon, you know.
Oh my God. Gentlemen, thank you both so much for a very fun and entertaining interview. Definitely a great way to end my night. I hope it was a good time for you both as well. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the people that are going to be watching this on YouTube?
I would, if you wanted to check out the album devotionals that we've been talking about, we talked about it a little bit along with it. We talked about werewolves and stuff too, but like, yeah,
we got werewolves on that album, son.
Yeah, check out our Bandcamp. It's Cardinal Wyrm, Wyrm with a Y, cardinalwyrm.bandcamp.com. We got the digital version up there. We got the tape version up there, and you know, who knows in the near future what formats are going to come out. But check it out. You can stream the whole thing on there too to check it out if you want to do that. Really, really appreciate your support. You know, and support Thrashers Paradise channel. It's awesome stuff. We had a great time sitting down with them. Yeah, thank you for seeking us out all the way from Hamilton, Ontario. Was that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yes, I remembered it. Yes.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure, and we look forward to bringing you both back on for hopefully an interview for album number 5.
Hell yeah. Well, we'll line you up for first place for that interview.
Awesome.
I got one thing to say to the Finnish people, and if Abstract is listening too. Not aimed at you, just showing off my Finnish that I've learned. I've been learning Finnish recently. Haista velhon perseraikka.
Oh, he cursed somebody's mother. By accident.
Or intentional. Right. We'll never know.
Someone will, if I didn't butcher it too badly, someone will probably hear it and tell you what it means in the comments. So.
Probably. And until next time, everyone, keep on thrashing.
Bye.